Hello everyone, I'm Mark Suxford and I want to welcome you all to my new podcast called People Behind Brands, brought to you by Making Websites Better. Throughout the series, I'll be opening up my little black book of contacts where I'll be joined by an inspirational guest from the world of business, getting to the bottom of what made them so successful. In each episode, I'll be touching upon the highs and the lows that every professional has faced along the way. To never miss an episode, subscribe to our exclusive content now and follow us on our social media platforms. People Behind Brands. Life lessons from the world of business. Never stop believing. A motto our next guest is all about. This is a man who could sell ice to the Eskimos, the ultimate salesman who's always one step ahead of the competition. A successful entrepreneur who's co-founded his company Go Instore, using the global pandemic as a springboard and taking his business to the next level. You'll find that this person behind his brand is changing the way we think, act and live our lives online. But Andre Hordagoda isn't just a businessman, he's a family man. His continued drive to succeed on a huge scale is founded upon the close relationships with his business partner, loving wife and supportive family. So let's go in store and find out more about this great man. Welcome to the show, Andre. It's great to have you on. How are you doing today?
Very well. Thanks for asking, Mark. Yeah, pleasure to be on.
Where can we find you today? Looks like you're at home.
I'm at home, actually. I've just kicked my wife out of the office, which she uses most of the time. I've been relegated to the dining table most of the time, but it's close to the kitchen, so that's okay.
Good, excellent. So Making Websites Better, the sponsor of this podcast, are proud to have been working closely with Andre's company, Go Instore, on their website and digital marketing requirements. Go Instore is a UK-based creator of a pioneering first-person shopping experience for online customers. Their mission is simple: to create humanizing customer experiences in the digital world. Andre is a highly successful entrepreneur, and I'm delighted he has joined us to share his story and life lessons from the world of business. So Andre, let's press on with the first question. Take us back to where it all started and Go Instore and what Go Instore is all about.
Yeah, sure. So look, I mean, I've been in the e-commerce industry since, before everyone had a website and everyone had an email address. So going back to sort of 2001, 2002, and I've always been on the technology side, predominantly supporting retailers to improve their websites to get better conversion rates and average order values, right? So that's my background. About 7-8 years ago, I was working for a personalization company called Perius, and what they did is product recommendations. So you see people who bought this also bought this when you're on, a retailer website. It's quite common, right? Now that sort of technology increases conversion rate, but by a very, very small amount, right? So 1 to 2%. And I had a realization that if you look at most retailers, the two most important channels they've got is the website and the physical store, right? But if you look at the KPIs that sit behind these two channels, they're very, very different. When you go into a store, the probability of you buying something is probably about 30-40%, right? But if you go to that same retailer's website, only 1 to 2% of people will buy it. But conversely, if you look at the amount of footfall or traffic you get to a website, it's incredibly high compared to a store, which is dictated by its geography. So you've got high conversion in a physical store, and comparatively low footfall, and then you've got huge footfall on a website, but very low conversion. And we thought, what could we do to take the high conversion aspect of the store and apply it to the far-reaching capacity of a website? And that was really the concept of Go Instore. And 7 years later, we haven't pivoted. We do exactly that. And the good news is we achieve in-store conversion rates in the online channel. So we do exactly what we set out to do.
Yeah, excellent. So yeah, as if people don't know, that Go Instore has grown massively over the last couple of years. But before setting up Go Instore, you've had strong experience in sales and business development. So how valuable was that when embarking on the vision of Go Instore?
Yeah, I mean, I set out to become a salesperson. That's what I wanted to do when I was growing up. My dad was a salesperson. My mum's a successful entrepreneur in her own right. And I actually went to university studying psychology with a view of becoming a salesperson, which is quite strange, especially in sort of 90s. I think, sales was slightly frowned upon. It wasn't really considered a profession. But, I went into it, and I studied psychology for that purpose, really, to see if having a better understanding of the human psyche could help in sales. But yeah, sales through and through. And yeah, I mean, I think you're always selling, right? And to the day, I'm the co-founder, co-CEO of the business, but predominantly I get involved in the sales and marketing side of the business.
Yeah, yeah. Sounds like you still have the passion for it. So
I
despite
love it.
great success already, owning your own company and doing what you want when you want, what would you say is your why in life now?
My why in life. Do you know what? We're going to die. We're all going to die one day. This is a bit of a morbid way to start this answer, but I just hold that so close to my heart, and I think that every day you've got to get the most out of it. It's all about experiences. Keep people around you smiling, and for me, it's one thing I realized quite early on, actually, Mark, is that it's not necessarily achieving it; it's the striving for it that drives me. So I'm happiest when I'm trying to get something, and often. I think back to my first sales job, actually, before I got into technology in 2002, was actually in recruitment.
Right.
And, I was really driven, I was one of the, if I don't mind saying so, one of the better sales guys there. But we had a car target to hit. And they told us, if you achieve this number over a year, we'd give you a car allowance. But they said, don't worry, no one gets it in their first year. And I got it in 9 months. And then I went out and bought myself an Audi Cabriolet. Do you remember those?
Yeah.
Like Lady Diana's car. And I remember having it, and I was buzzing the first week, but then after that, I got really depressed, and I just didn't know what it was, and it was because I'd achieved it, and I didn't have any goals from then on in. So I quickly learned that you constantly got to be achieving something else. So no matter what I achieve, even as I'm getting close to achieving something, I'm starting to plan what the next step should be.
Yeah, it sounds like you've always got that next move in your head of what you're going to do. But one area that has been a hot topic on this podcast and for all of us over the last 18 months is the global pandemic. So how would you say Go Instore have overcome this period?
Well, I sound like a broken record when I say this, but it's taken 7 years in a global pandemic for us to become an overnight success, is the truth of it. So, I don't believe in luck when it comes to business, but I think you've got to be in the right place, right time. We started probably 5 years too early with Go Instore. It took a long time. I don't know how we got, but looking back, I don't know how my business partner and I got through it. We used to struggle on how we're going to pay salaries, all this sort of stuff. And we were evangelizing, selling something no one else was doing. And then, it started to work in 2018, November 2018. I remember the month and the year. It started to work with Curry's PC World. And, we were slowly winning business, probably growing 20% year on year. And then the pandemic came. And, if you think about retailers, everyone was confined to their houses, right? So, you can shop online, but there's a massive missing part. If you can't speak to someone when you want to buy that laptop, or talk to someone about the fabric of the furniture, or understand the weight of the watch that you're thinking about buying, that happened. That's human to human contact. So we were just perfectly positioned. It forced consumers, if they wanted to get support in the sales cycle, they had no option but to use our technology. And we have like a 92% customer satisfaction rate. So once people use it for the first time, they continue doing it. So long story short, we were growing year on year 20%, and then COVID came along and we grew 1,000%.
Yeah.
So we've gone from 12 people to almost 100 people in the business internationally. The volume of Go Instore calls that happen. I mean, Black Friday 2018, we'd be lucky if we got to 500 in a day. Black Friday 2020, we were doing 500 calls every 3 minutes.
Yeah, wow.
Just massive growth. Yeah, and it's here to stay.
So really kind of the pandemic was not a blessing in disguise, but it sort of helped you out of your business. And because yours is very much, predominantly online, it's a case that actually it wasn't too bad and you could actually get through and you actually grew in the pandemic.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, I don't want to say we benefited from, the misfortune of people. We can hold our heads high because actually I like to think to a small extent, we kept the wheels of commerce going, right? Because you think about, Curry's PC World, we took hundreds of staff who would otherwise be furloughed and put them back in jobs. Same with Signet Jewelers across the US. We're talking thousands of people across our client base who were kept employed because of the technology. So we can really hold our heads high. And I was always, it sounds a bit like a megalomaniac thing to say, but I always wanted to change the world a little bit.
Yeah.
And in our small way for retail, I think we have, started a movement.
Yeah, definitely. So for you personally, how much of an impact did the pandemic have on you, sort of stuck at home, not being able to sort of see loved ones and all that type of thing?
Do you know what? I've got a lot of family in Florida and Miami, and I haven't been to see them. My mum, my sister's out there. My grandmother's not very well at the moment. That's been awful. Flip side, I'm lucky that I'm at this stage in life. I'm in my mid-40s. I've got beautiful wife, 11-year-old daughter, and we've got a bit of space. We live outside of London. If I was some of the guys that work for us, in a flat, just stuck indoors for the whole of last summer, that would have been horrific. So in a positive way, a lot of people complain about homeschooling. In fairness, my wife did most of it, but I got to spend so much more time with my daughter. And that's great, and luckily we've got quite a well-functioning family unit here, so we weren't pulling each other's hair out. That's been a positive for us.
I think when you think about like the key things that have happened over that period of time, and the positives that came out of it, everyone that we've spoken to, whether it's personally or on the podcast, it's a case that family's been such a massive thing, and spending time with them is obviously the key there. So, but as the aim of this podcast is to delve deeper into some of the more testing times and setbacks that come along in life. So, other than the pandemic, what would you say have been some of the challenges that you've had to overcome in your personal life that have always sort of stayed with you?
I think one time, one event that sticks with me, and I always try and turn things into a positive, and I guess it did turn out to be a positive. I got fired a few years ago, so going back through my career, it happened once, and I'm glad it happened, because it was a turning point for me. So I career-wise, I wanted to get into sales, as I said. The back of my head, I always wanted to start my own business. My friends would always joke, "Oh, you should go on Dragon's Den," and all this sort of stuff over the years. Maybe I will do, but perhaps I go on as a dragon rather than an idea.
Yeah.
But I mean, I moved. I worked in very big organisations like Experian. I worked for a company called Hitwise within the Experian Group, thousands of staff. And then I purposely got involved with startups. And there was this one tech startup. I worked there for a year. It was an Israeli tech startup, and I was launching in the UK. And my immediate line manager was, I don't know, he was sort of micromanaging me, but he didn't let me get exposure to the other people within the business. So everything was going through him, and I found it really challenging. Anyway, it didn't work out in the end, and fired me. Now, that hit me hard. Like being fired, it was an ego thing, though. It was, in actual fact, I wasn't right for the business. They weren't right for me. I wasn't right for them. But that sort of that crush on your ego, it was so painful, But I let it sit with me for a couple of weeks, and enough's enough. And I sort of turned that energy into a positive. Just put turn it into. I was about to swear there. I don't want to swear, but I was almost like, "F you, watch this," right? So, and that was that sort of really turned it into fire, and it's driven me. And I suspect our company's probably doing better than theirs now. So thank you. I won't mention any names, but
I suppose in times of where adversity and stuff like that, it's those things that make you stronger, I think. And if that thing hadn't happened, that experience hadn't happened, might not be where you are today. So I suppose these things happen for a reason, is what I like to believe anyway. But I suppose one question you just mentioned about being on Dragon's Den, potentially being a dragon one day. What kind of dragon do you think you'd be?
Oh, I'd be really nice, to be honest with you. I think the problem that most salespeople are the easiest to sell to. And thankfully, my business partner's a really good negotiator, because I'm rubbish. I like it, I'll buy it, right? So yeah, I think I'd probably be quite a nice dragon, a very encouraging dragon.
Yeah,
I wouldn't be. I think that. They do ham it up a little bit for the show, and I've met a couple of those guys. Not Thetis, I'm thinking of the other chap, Tuka.
Yeah.
When I met him when I was there, I actually sold to him when I was at Hitwise, and he's some of them ham it up for the camera, but he's actually like that. He literally. He put me on such edge when, but we got the deal, and he did the deal. He spent 25 grand there and then signed up for a contract. It was like a, 25-minute meeting. So yeah. I'd be a nice dragon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we sort of touched upon earlier in terms of family. So family is another area that has kept many people going through the pandemic or times of hardship throughout their lives and careers. Talk to us about your support network and how the important people in your life have had that effect on you.
It's a great question. My wife is my biggest fan, but also my biggest critic. I think it's probably it. And I've been throwing ideas around. So we've been together since 16 years now. So and I started the business 7 years ago. So if you do the maths, up until that point, I was constantly having ideas. What about this? What about this? And she would trash them. But it may have been the fact that my business partner, who happens to be a very close friend of mine, I actually went to high school with him as well. When we came up with the concept of Go Instore, she got behind it, and that meant a lot to me. And it meant a lot in the sense that I was earning decent money, and we just quit our job with no income. So she was the breadwinner for many years, and I mean that's just incredible. No complaints, and keeping your chin up when you're having a tough day. And similarly with my business partner, interestingly, well, not only are we friends for many decades, we actually have the same birthday, which is very strange. So I don't know. Okay. I'm not into star signs, but we're quite different in many ways. But in the most important way, I think we're very similar, and that's that we have an unwavering belief that things are going to be good and they're going to work out. We're very optimistic and very positive. Yeah. You can't be bulletproof every day. Some days you have an off day, but the good thing about he and I is that we're never both having an off day at the same time, right? Because that would be dangerous. Yeah. So if I'm having a shit day, I could chat to him, and we don't have any mentors. Is the truth of it? We've got each other. And a lot of people say if you want to be successful, have mentors. But we've got a board now, and more recently, there's we have a bit more of an advisor network as the company's grown. But it's over the years, it's just been he and I and my wife, to give us a pat on the back every now and again, or tell me to pull my socks up and stop wallowing in self-pity,
Yeah, so you mentioned two key partnerships there, obviously with your wife and with your business partner as well. So how would you say that those two partnerships complement each other on yourself?
So it's a good question. I think, so my wife will hear me. She'll know when I'm talking to Armin Karan, my business partner, because we say the same things over and over again. And it's constant like, mate, you're doing well. This is great. We're just like cheerleaders to each other, just constantly. And she's like, Andre, you've been saying that for the last hour, but she doesn't understand how important that is, right? Yeah. just sometimes we've got nothing to say to each other new, but we'll just call each other up just to I'm actually going for a meal with him tonight. To do that, just to chat about how great we're doing, and encourage us. But I think the difference with Amanda is she knows me, a lot more intimately, obviously, right? Yeah. So she on a day-to-day basis knows how I'm feeling, right? And can sense my mood, and we've got a good relationship. There's no nonsense in our relationship. We have an argument every now and again, but the reality is we are there for each other and we encourage each other,
Yeah, makes sense. So, you sound like a really busy individual, but when you allow yourself to have some time to yourself and just time away from work, what are your main passions and your interests in life?
I want to say that I'm having an off week, to be honest with you, but I want to say I'm reasonably active. I use the gym quite a lot. I've just signed up for the Hemel Hempstead Hill Busters, a 60k bike ride next week. And I literally haven't been on my road bike for about 2 years, so I've just dusted it off. I don't know how I'm going to handle that, but I like doing that sort of stuff. I do the occasional triathlon. We've got like a half marathon lined up. If I put it in the diary, I'll train for it. It's basically my mantra. So yeah, fitness. I probably drink a little bit too much sometimes, if I'm honest with you. Obviously Paul and I had the 2 times I've been for a beer with him. It's we've both been in the doghouse the next day.
Yeah, he's mentioned a couple of times your nights out. Yeah, pretty legendary.
It's a dangerous one. So he was asking about the final on Sunday, and I'm going to watch it from home because I've got a really important meeting on Monday. So if I go out,
fair enough. So whether it's on a professional or a personal level, what does the overall big picture look like for you, Andre, or the bigger picture for Go Instore? What's your plans for the future?
So we're into a massive so what's happened? So we were innovators, 7 years ago. First in the world to do what we do as a video first solution. You know, you go through when you have an innovation company, there's something called the adoption of innovation curve. I don't know if you know it. So you get early adopters, then you get early majority, then you get late majority, then you get laggards. So this curve we've just gone through this so quickly. We've just what they call crossing the chasm, which is you go from a few people trying it out because it's novel to you've proved it and it works really well. So that's happened very quickly because of COVID. So now what's happening is we're seeing a new company claiming to do what we do, turning up every week, right? And unfortunately, it makes it very noisy in the marketplace. What we're doing because of that, and we're in pole position. We've got some of the biggest brands. We have international deals with the likes of Microsoft, massive deals with Samsung, you name it, right? So we're already kind of at the top, but we have to defend our position. The only way to do that is to pump shitloads of money into it. So loads of money into the business, marketing, sales teams. We've got a bunch of guys in North America now, and it is just rapid growth. So how do we do it? Well, we need to take a huge, the largest investment round to date is coming into the business, hopefully in the next month or so, which is good.
Yeah.
World domination, that's what we're going for.
Exactly, yeah, that's the key, isn't it? But yeah, Andre, thanks so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to come on the podcast. It's been a pleasure to learn more about the man behind a successful brand, but unfortunately we have to come to an end. But before we do, what would be one life lesson you would give to your younger self or someone listening that can learn from your experiences?
Yeah, I'd say to my younger self, just instill unwavering belief. We've fostered this, my co-founder and I fostered this over the years, but you can achieve anything if you genuinely believe it. The warning is be careful what you wish for, right? So you can do it if you really want it,
Yeah, definitely. Never stop believing is the motto there, I think. But to find out more about Go Instore and how live video retail experiences have benefited millions of customers around the globe, you can visit the website www.goinstore.com. All our previous episodes of the podcast are available on all major audio platforms. You can follow us on our various social media platforms at podcast PBB. Join us next time for a brand new episode of People Behind Brands, where we go in search of more life lessons from the world of business. So that's it for this episode of People Behind Brands. I'd love to hear from you all, so if you want to get in touch, follow us on our social media platforms. If you like what you heard, please rate and subscribe to our exclusive content now. Join us next time for a brand new guest on the podcast as we explore yet more life lessons from the world of business. We'll see you soon.